Hello ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, innies, outies and in-betweeners. My name's Dan. Welcome back to another PAP Reports. Today is Tuesday the 31st of March 2020. Today we're starting with some new info on a recent report. 60-year-old retired Police Scotland Inspector Keith Farquharson was sentenced to life imprisonment, 15 years, almost 2 weeks ago for the murder of his wife of 33 years after finally pleading guilty after initially lying to police about how her death occurred. A theme we hear all too often with some police. Well, Keith Farquharson actually seems to be onto a bit of a winner, as he has what's called an Inspector's Index Linked Pension Plan, which pays him 25 grand a year while he's in prison. Over 15 years, that's a sum total of £375,000 for doing time for murder. One of the reasons I think that public servants should lose their employer part of their pension when found guilty of a crime or gross misconduct. Former colleagues are disgusted and say that the big-headed sex pest has an inspector's index-linked pension of 25 grand a year. One said Farquharson was always a sleazy poser who thought he was God's gift to women. It sickens me. He could be out in 15 years with a nice nest egg worth 375 grand waiting for him. One said maybe he'll need some of it to pay for protection while he's inside. He won't get an easy ride. A police source said, "I can think of no provision in law that could see him losing his pension. He murdered his wife after he'd been off the force for a number of years, even if he did leave under a cloud." Farquharson was found guilty in Glasgow last month of choking his wife Alice, 56, just after she asked him if he loved her. He tried to cover up the crime in their Aberdeen home, claiming she'd banged her head in the bedroom as he was having a shower. Sentencing Farquharson for at least 15 years for last August's killing, Judge Lady Stacey told him, "It is distressing a man who held such a position should behave like this and commit such a serious crime. What you did has destroyed your family." In 1998, father of three, Farquharson was stripped of his inspector's badge for sending a dirty ditty to a 28-year-old WPC. The ditty, called Gasping for It, led to a £500 fine after he admitted breaching the peace by causing the woman fear and alarm. In the same year, he dodged a disciplinary rap over claims he was one of 3 officers who shared flings with a traffic warden. In 2009, he was accused of pestering a female motorcycle officer when she threatened legal action. Farquharson, promoted to inspector again, was moved to an admin role. But within weeks, other women complained about him and he was suspended and put on gardening leave on a £45,000 a year salary. Gardening leave. Fucking hell. He never returned to work after that and resigned with his pension intact. So I think it's easy to see why the respect from the public has been failing and why. So long as these people continue to get an easy ride, respect will never be earned. I mean, I'd do 15 years for almost 400k, so long as the dogs are looked after. I mean, the guy's going to get it easy from the screws. So even though most of the inmates will, want to make him their bitch, no doubt he's going to be looked after by the screws. Some justice. Police and councils seem to have been making up rules as they go. Nothing new there then. With a number of police forces being accused of being overzealous in their approach to the new powers to enforce the coronavirus lockdown rules, and councils telling store owners what they can and cannot sell. Police in Lancashire issued 123 fines over the weekend for breaking the new rules, while police in Cleveland issued 16, mainly for drivers making unnecessary journeys. North of the border, Police Scotland issued 25 fixed penalty notices over the weekend to people flouting the regulations introduced in a bid to stop people from spreading coronavirus in public places. Police in Warrington summoned 6 people for various offences, including someone who went out for a drive because they were bored, and multiple people from the same house going out to buy non-essential items. Convenience stores have also been wrongly told to stop selling things such as Easter eggs amid the coronavirus pandemic, as they are considered non-essential goods. Tell the kids that. This view was echoed by former independent reviewer of terrorism legislation, Lord Anderson, who said, "Police in their words and actions need to be clear about the difference between rules and guidance, both to maintain public confidence in their role and to discourage snoopers, snitches and vigilantes. Serious breaches should attract fines, but news reports over enforcement by police and public officials are deterring the timid from exercising even their limited freedoms that they have. Cressida Dick has always come into the front to back up the abuse of power that are being used, saying that we are all getting used to the new restrictions, and I've been very clear that in the first instance I want my officers to be engaging with people, talking to people, encouraging them to comply. Explaining, of course, if they don't understand. Already we have had examples of people who simply hadn't quite heard all the messages, and only as a very last resort with the current restrictions using firm direction or even enforcement.
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
We're not doing what you might call roadblocks or anything like that, she said. Yes, we stop motorists sometimes. We have a conversation with them. They might have a light out. That old chestnut. We might talk to them, she said. We might ask them about their journey. Our approach is one entirely trying to help educate and encourage people.
You know, you got some nerve driving around my town with a busted headlight. And a busted windshield.
I think we're all trying to get used to this. My approach in my service is one entirely of trying to encourage people to engage with people, to have conversations with people. The Prime Minister's official spokesman said the police will exercise their own discretion in the use of powers, which we have given to them, and will take whatever steps they consider appropriate to disperse groups of people who are flouting the rules. And that's where one of the problems is. You're giving the police discretion to do what they want, ultimately. Take that discretion away and set it out in law. This is what you can do, this is what you can't do. It's the only way to stop the police taking a piss. When asked whether shops could continue to sell non-essential items, the spokesman said, "We have set out which shops can remain open. If a shop is allowed to remain open, then it will of course sell whatever items it has in stock." Whereas convenience stores have been wrongly told to stop selling Easter eggs amid the coronavirus pandemic, as they're considered non-essential goods, which is what a trade body claims. Some independent shops reported that council officers had attempted to tell them what items they could and could not sell, including chocolate eggs and hot cross buns. But the Association of Convenience Stores accused officials of misreading the rules and has now told its members to continue selling such items as normal. So it's not even just the police that we have to worry about abusing the powers. Anyone with this perceived position of authority will try to get away with abusing that position under the guise of, "Oh, I just misunderstood." Even former High Court Judge Lord Sumption has criticised Derbyshire Police for having shamed our policing traditions for stopping people exercising in the Peak District. It comes after the force used a drone to follow a couple walking their dog and posted the footage on Twitter, warning the public against non-essential travel. Lord Sumption said, "Such restrictions risk turning the UK into a police state," adding the force does not have the legal power to enforce ministers' wishes, which are not law. He told Radio 4's World at One, "In some parts of the country, the police have been trying to stop people from doing things like travelling to take exercise in the open country, which are not contrary to the regulations, simply because ministers have said that they would prefer us not to. The police have no power to enforce ministers' preferences, but only legal regulations which don't go anything like as far as the government's guidance." I have to say that the behaviour of Derbyshire Police in trying to shame people in using their undoubted right to travel to take exercise in the country and wrecking beauty spots in the fells so people don't want to go there is frankly disgraceful. This is what a police state is like. It is a state in which a government can issue orders or express preferences with no legal authority, and the police will enforce ministers' wishes. Well said, Lord Sumption. And even though the National Police Chief Council and College of Policing are rushing through guidance, reminding officers that despite politicians' warnings, they cannot bar people from going for a run or for a drive, I'm sure we're still going to see reports of people being abused with the misinterpreted guidance. Now, something that might cheer you up just a little bit. Professor Neil Ferguson of the Imperial College in London, who is a scientist advising the government during the coronavirus pandemic, has said that the UK's coronavirus outbreak appears to be slowing down. Professor Ferguson said the slowing of the spread of COVID-19 was the result of strict social distancing measures brought in by the government. In the UK, we can see some early signs of slowing in some indicators. Less so deaths, because deaths are lagged by a long time from when measures come in force. But if we look at the numbers of new hospital admissions, that does appear to be slowing down a bit now. It has not yet plateaued, so still the numbers can be increasing each day, but the rate of that increase has slowed. Professor Ferguson said that different parts of the country were experiencing the epidemic at different rates. London, for example, he said, was likely to have seen up to 5% of the population infected. He said it is quite clear across the country the epidemic is in different stages in different parts of the country. In central London, it could be as many as 3 to 5% of the population that's been infected, maybe more in individual hotspots. In the country as a whole, in the UK, maybe 2 to 3%. Now, as I've said before, I personally don't mind social distancing, as clearly that's something that we can all do without too much of a problem. It's the other insidious regulations and rules that are easily abused, and often abused, by the police and other public officials for their own personal arbitrary gain. That's what upsets me. However, even though the spread is said to be slowing down, the government and police certainly won't want to give up their hold on the country just yet, if at all. In yesterday's somewhat lengthy live stream, you may have heard me say that the police would be better off staying out of the countryside, trying to find people to fine, and get back to their desks where there is no doubt a mountain of unsolved cases that need their attention. What with the country on restricted movement, many criminals the police have failed to pick up yet will be more easily obtainable. Well, today it seems that my thoughts were not just some random stupidity, as the Met Police have announced that during a week-long crackdown, they've rounded up more than 650 suspects. Now, before we all get carried away, it does appear that many of the arrests come from random stop and searches, but some will be as a result of ongoing investigations. Drugs, cash and cannabis factories, zombie knives and hammers were found when police raided 65 properties as part of Operation Scepter from Monday, March 23rd to Sunday, March 29. Commander Jane Connors said if anybody had the view we would be going lightly, they are very much mistaken. We will absolutely bear down on violence. It won't stop. Some of London's most prolific, high-harm offenders have been apprehended, and dangerous weapons, which could have potentially ended up in the wrong hands, have been removed from our streets. Officers will continue to use all of the tactics available to them, day and night, to suppress violence in London, and I would like to thank all those involved for their unwavering commitment to making our resilient city safer. Now, Met Police. If only you considered targeting real criminals all of the time, then maybe you wouldn't have got so far behind arresting these people. I mean, this is a bit of a mixed bag for me, because although serious offenders are being arrested, I personally think that if the police spent their time doing proper police work, instead of acting on made-up assumptions and feelings, then many of these offenders would have already been taken off our streets. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. And now for something completely different. I know some of you won't care, and that's your right, and I completely respect that. However, I personally think this is another example of how the police should deal with the public. This is a video from Facebook. I'm not sure where it originated from, so if it is your video and you'd rather it not be used here, please contact me and I will edit it out without the need for a copyright strike.
accordion? Yes, yes. I used to play the accordion. Is it working okay? I used to play the accordion. I'm from Ireland. You know Ireland? Ireland, and I used to play the accordion. Can I try it? Is it working? Can I try your accordion? Can I try it? Can I try it? I've never actually. I used to play the accordion when I was in Ireland. Can I just try it? Let me just see. It's a nice accordion. Oh yes. It's, I've never tried it. I hope the office won't. How's it work? It's too big. Okay, so it's Irish jig. Irish. Irish jig. I'm just trying to record you. I used to play when I was younger. You'll get me in this one. Go on, mate. Proper talent. That's what you call talent. But some of the notes aren't working. So where are you from? Romania?
Yes.
Okay, well done. I'm going back to the office now, so well done. Okay, God bless you. I shouldn't really give you any money. So. All right, well done. Okay.
A big, massive, huge thank you to Patreon supporters Motty Lad, Holly, AD, Dave, Ian, Copwatch UK, Dean, Jay and Carl, whose support is helping me to continue providing you this content. Again, especially as almost every report contains content that's deemed unsuitable for most advertisers. And that's all I have for you today. Please like, share, comment and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, as I know many of you will. And until next time, stay safe, look after each other, film the police, wash your hands and film other officials.
Good night, all.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you like the content and you'd like to help support the channel, you can do so. In the description of every video there are some links to ways that you're able to help support the channel so I can continue putting out content. If you're unable to help us in that way, hit that subscribe button up the top there. If you haven't already, become a subscriber. That is support enough. Share the videos, comment, like, it all helps. If you're looking for something else to watch, up top there is my latest video. Down the bottom there is a video that YouTube recommends for you.